Well, good evening, Pool Player Nation, and welcome here to the APA studio, where tonight we've got some important information to share with you guys about our upcoming Las Vegas events. Of course, if you guys remember back a couple of months when we announced that the Pool Player Championships were being postponed, we also announced that we were moving our World Championships from August to December, and we were creating another event in August called the Showdown Series Championships. And so that's where we're going to spend a lot of our time tonight talking about. Obviously, that event is just a few weeks away, and that begs the question of, is the event happening? Is it not happening? So here tonight, I've got Bill Tufts, our tournament director. I have Greg Fletcher, APA president, with us. And we're going to kind of talk through some of these things, but let's just dive right in, guys, and talk about the August event. Showdown Series Championship, is it happening or not happening?
It's not happening.
Not happening.
Not happening. We had to make a call. And obviously, we're looking at everything around us. We've been evaluating since the time that we actually announced the event. And, the world's just not ready for one quite yet. So we had to make some decisions. We had to get the information out. We decided now's the time to do that before any preparations are made for the event, before we actually get into the event. So as of today, we are canceling the August Showdown Series event.
Yeah, and I mean, I think people probably follow along the news. They see what's happening. Obviously, Las Vegas just now starting to open back up, really. I know the Westgate just opened, I believe, on June 18th. There really isn't, at this point, any opportunity to actually have an event. As far as we know, they are not allowing people to come to Las Vegas for group events.
No, right now, actually, as of yesterday, the governor of Nevada extended Phase 2 of Nevada's reopening plan. Phase 2 still limits groups to 50 people. Obviously, we run a tournament with thousands of people. They're not ready. That was actually extended to July 31st. Our event's just a week and a half away from that. There was no way for us to execute this event.
All right, so a decision has been made for June, at least at the end of June here for August. What happens with, there were 4 events originally scheduled for the Showdown Series Championship. You had the Jack and Jill Doubles Championship, you had the Team Captain Championship, and you had the 8-Ball and 9-Ball Championships. Originally, when we talked a couple months ago about the changes, we kind of said if those events can't take place in August, they would be canceled. Is that still the case?
No, it's not the case. So they won't be canceled. We're actually going to be postponing those events. So the time between our initial announcement in April and now has afforded us a few opportunities and resources we didn't have before. So just to kind of, come right out and say it, what we're going to do is we're going to be taking the Jack and Jill Championships and the Team Captains Championships. We will be moving those events to December, which is awesome. I mean, that's normally where they're at. They're normally in conjunction with our large team events. They're normally part of our Whirlpool Championships. So we're going to put them back where they are. It's just going to be in December. What we're going to do with our 8-ball doubles and 9-ball doubles is probably really on the minds of everybody watching this, or a good majority of the people watching this. Initially, when we came out, we said that there wasn't going to be room to move these events, and more than likely, we would have to cancel. Fortunately, what we've been able to do with our partners at the Westgate, we've been able to extend our 2021 Pool Player Championships. We've been able to extend it by a day. We've also restructured our League Operator Convention, which normally happens at the front end of that. We've backed that up. That gives us another day of tournament play. Overall, what it's allowed us to do is to add our 8-ball doubles and our 9-ball doubles 2020 qualifiers to the 2021 event. So what we will do is we will still have a qualifying season for 2021. Those players all go through league or through their tournament. They're going to come out to the championship and play in 2021. We're adding our 2020 qualifiers to those brackets, respectively, and we're going to have the largest 8-ball doubles championship we've ever had, and we're going to have the largest 9-ball doubles championship we've ever had.
So I know and that's similar to what we did with the Pool Player Championships when we moved the 8-Ball Classic and the 9-Ball Shootout from this past April, when the event could not happen because of COVID, to next year. The question that we got so often, does that mean the prize money essentially doubles?
Yes. So the prize money does double for those events based on a full field, right? So all of the money that's generated from these Showdown Series events, the 8-ball doubles, 9-ball doubles that we're talking about now, that all comes from the entry fees, right, that go into the event. It's 100% payout, very open about that. But it's based on how many teams you have. So if you have a full field, right, then it's going to be full doubling of the payout. Now, what we won't do is take that top end payout and double or triple it. When we increase the bracket, we increase the amount of spots that we need to pay out as well. And we, as APA, our thing is paying out as many people and giving as many people as possible a great experience in Vegas. It's not about just awarding one team with all the money. It's about making sure as many people as possible go back home with something. So that's what we'll do. The money, while it could be doubled depending on, again, participation. If we have, say, for 8-ball doubles, it'd be 768 teams. Would be the full field. If we had 768 teams, that's $76,800. That's in that pool, and that is what will be paid out overall.
You got a mic check going on there?
I do, but it's on. So
it is.
So we'll check Bill's mic, but while they look at that, so just to kind of recap, Jack and Jill Doubles Championship, Team Captain Championship, 2 of the 4 events scheduled for August in Las Vegas at the Showdown Series Championships. Those are both moving to the World Championships in November, December.
Correct.
At the Westgate as part of the World Pool Championships, which is where they were originally, right?
Yes.
They were originally part of that event. The other 2 events that were to take place in August, the 8-ball doubles and the 9-ball doubles championship, those are moving forward to next April, kind of like the 8-ball classic and the 9-ball shootout.
Exactly like
so basically that event is going to double in size, double in payout like we've talked about. So while the Showdown Series Championship will actually never happen, right? It was not a regular occurring event. It was kind of an event that we had scheduled because we knew this might be an issue and moved the pool or the World Championships. But so that event, while it is canceled, really the events that make up that event are being postponed to a later date.
Postponed.
So that's good news. That's good news.
Which is a great win for us.
Right.
And honestly, it is about timing. You know, if this had been the discussion in April, back in April, for anybody that tuned in to the message that we had, we didn't necessarily have a solution. But again, we've been able to work with our great partners at the Westgate. We've been able to secure more space in December that we weren't able to secure initially. That allows us to move the Jack and Jill and the Team Captains event to that event. We've also been able to extend our days for next year's 2021 PPC, which at the time, back this past April, wasn't an option either. So the time that we've spent working, continuing to figure out solutions, really paid off in this regard because we're able to still host on the calendar. All of our events are still a go.
All right, so that's good news for those of you that have qualified for any of those events. In some cases, you're just going to have to wait a little bit longer, unfortunately, but that's the situation we're in with the COVID-19. I mean, again, Las Vegas was not giving us any indication that an event our size was going to be allowed in August. I know safety would have been a concern, even if the governor came out, the governor of Nevada, at the end of July and says, hey, we're going to open it up further. I don't know that APA wanted to be the first group that was going to be kind of the guinea pig. Is that right?
There was no guarantee that we could be able to run the event either, right? So usually when we run an event, when everything's normal, there are only a few hurdles that we have to jump through with the fire marshal and the coordinating with the hotel and stuff like that. We usually don't have very many issues and we do very well. But this time, now suddenly, any and all large events are governed really under the guise of the Gaming Commission. So now they actually have to approve an event. So we would have had to go through the whole whatever process they have to actually get our event approved, and we hadn't even started with that because we just didn't see any daylight in order to make that happen.
Yeah, so during phase 2, what they actually did in Nevada was they did have an application process for all non-spectator events to be hosted there. But really what that provision was written in for was more of the MMA, the boxing, the things like that have really rigorous testing. They have really rigorous protocols going in.
It's only
and
a few
it's
people,
very few people. Mm-hmm. I mean, compared to the tournaments that we run, it's extremely, extremely small. I mean, we're talking, very small scale, 50 people in the building versus ours, which was scheduled to be 3,000.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about a lot of the large events that happen in Vegas, CES and NAB and the gaming, the game conventions and stuff like that, those are all really massive and huge. But we are a decent size event. Comparatively, and so it's not like we fit into one of those things where there's only a few hundred people that are coming together to do something. We have thousands of people that we're bringing together. And so it's a big deal. We can't just hope, right, that it's going to happen. We actually have to plan.
That's correct. And throughout this whole process, besides just looking forward to trying to find a home for these events, the last thing in the world we want to do is cancel an event. I mean, these are the promises to our players, to our members, to our leagues. We don't want to have to cancel. So we look for every option there. But during that time, while we're looking at that, we were evaluating every single safety measure that we thought we might have to put in place, how we would try to work with social distancing, mask to not to mask,
traffic flows,
acrylic shields for staff. We were looking at everything that honestly anybody that's been out and about has seen at this point. We were looking at what are we going to have to do to get ourselves in a place where it's safe enough to host this event. And unfortunately, right now, there isn't that option. Nevada's come flat out and said that they don't see an option for it. Honestly, until they're ready to go to a phase 3 or 4, there's really nothing we can do there. There's not a lot of movement we can have.
We're hoping. We're still hoping.
Absolutely, and it really just comes down to what's going on there.
Yeah.
And so, good thing is, again, with these plans, what we've done is we've bought ourselves time. Ultimately, as Jason points out many times, COVID decides this thing. And we're just kind of surfing the wave, as Greg says, and trying to come up with solutions for people and trying to come up with solutions for this business that makes sense for who we are and what we want to accomplish.
Yeah.
So the good news for the qualifiers for those 4 events from August, they're going to be moved to later. And that also means good news for December. At least at this point, the World Pool Championships are still on the calendar, and we are still moving forward with planning and preparing. I mean, you mentioned some of the safety precautions, but we are moving forward as though that event will be able to take place, and we're very hopeful. One of the things that happened when we moved that event back in April from August to December is we bought ourselves several months to allow this thing to play out, not only on the local level, where we needed to get teams back playing and tournaments happening, but, for the world to become a little safer than it's been. And so, we still have now several months to work with. And so that's a very positive sign that the December event, the November-December event, the World Championship's still on the calendar. So, a couple of pieces of good news mixed in there, I think.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of things that still need to happen. I mean, we're seeing leagues open back up. We've seen leagues come back. We've seen them come back strong. We've also had some setbacks. I know Greg's been on top of that this entire time, as well as a huge chunk of our team just in that, getting leagues going. And then you do have a few hurdles to get over. But our goal is to get that qualifying season in, right? If we can get that qualifying season in on the local level and things are better on a national level and better in Vegas, then we want to position ourselves as best as possible to be able to host, the world's largest pool tournament.
Exactly.
That's what we do. That's what we want.
And so what is that qualifying season? I mean, normally players are used to that qualifying season being May, June. Mm-hmm. What does that qualifying season, at least currently, look like in terms of the calendar?
So it does vary, and it varies greatly depending on where you're at and what your situation is. We've had people running qualifiers already, where they were in markets that had opened up. They were far enough along in their spring session or in play to be able to host those. They've already done that. We have others that aren't even open yet, So really, the time frame that we're really looking at here is that September, like the late August, September time frame for running these for what we hope is all of our league, but definitely the vast majority of them.
It'll be a busy time.
Very busy.
Yeah.
Very busy.
So at what point, I mean, we talked about the fact that we got to the end of June, today's June 30th, and we made a decision on the August event, right? Obviously, this decision has been several days, really a couple of weeks in the making, but announced today. At what point could members expect some type of further update on the World Championships that are scheduled for November, December?
I would think a lot of it is going to be sorted out by, say, the end of September. I mean, really going into September, we're going to have a good idea internally about how many leagues are running, how many maybe we're looking to get back online, what their timeframes are, working with them, right? But by the end of September, I mean, we're really gonna know from a league standpoint. Did we have enough areas be able to participate? Are we going to be able to field a good tournament field? It's a tough thing to gauge, but I think we're gonna know. Kind of like whenever we made this plan, we would know somewhere around mid-June would be about the time we would make a call on this event. Either things were going to be swinging in the positive, or they weren't. Right? This time it didn't go our way, but somewhere around that late September mark, we'll be looking at the same thing. And then the next touch point, assuming that we can move forward there, the next touch point's probably going to be in that about a month before time frame. So you're talking late October, early November to make sure everything on the ground is still a go, and then we'll be coming back out and making another decision. Either hopefully it's a very positive one of, yeah, we're ramping up, we're getting ready for this thing. I mean, that's what we're hoping. I don't really want to talk about the alternative. That's what we want. That's what we want.
Well, that's going to be my next question, though, because players are saying, okay, so you've been able to move the events from the 2020 Pool Player Championships. Those have now moved to next year. Everybody's going to get to play that qualified on top of the new qualifiers from next year. You've successfully been able to move the August event to December. What happens if November, December rolls around and the World Championships cannot be played at that time with those events?
Well, you're asking me today. And today, there isn't a great plan for what happens. I mean, when you're talking about the world's largest pool tournament, it's not something you can double. You know, it's not like the Pool Player Championships where we were able to extend it by a couple days, essentially double the field sizes for both, and we could throw enough resources at it to make it happen. When you're talking about the world's largest pool tournament, there aren't enough tables in the world to run it in a 10-day time frame if you double it. And there aren't enough days to do it if you doubled it that way. I mean, the event's 10 days long right now.
Yeah.
If we double it, it's a 20-day event, right? And I don't know anybody, and a lot of league members, I don't know a lot of league members that can hang out in Las Vegas to play in a 10-day 8-ball team championship because that's how big the field is. There just really isn't a great option. Now, what I will say is that we're not going to stop looking. We didn't stop looking in April, even though I came out and said we might have to cancel these doubles events. We are not going to stop looking at December because we know it's there, and we know the last thing we want to do is have to cancel an event outright. So we're going to be looking for options. Now, what would happen should we choose to cancel? I mean, first thing we're going to look at is the local league level, what kind of travel assistance, what kind of player funds, payouts, that kind of thing. But again, that's not who APA is. That's not what we are. We're not a cash payout league. We are a league that promises you an experience you can only get through us, and that experience is, besides the local league play and playing with your friends and having that every week, it's our championships. You know, they're a spectacle unto their own, and you can't replace that with a few bucks in your pocket.
Nope.
So I think that the takeaway there then is that if November, December can't happen, we're not saying that those events won't be moved back. We just don't really have a plan for that today, and it is possible that they may at that point have to be canceled. But I think what the members need to know is that if it came to that last resort, that flat out cancellation, that the player fund monies that go into things like Vegas and sending teams to Vegas and that kind of thing, that money's still accounted for, right? That's going to be there whether Vegas happens or not. Is that correct?
Yeah. So one of the things that really is the essence of who the APA is and has always been is that that we always pay. We always pay out for the events that we host. And so we would work with each of our local leagues to figure out what would be the best way to pay that money out at a local level. So that that brand promise, so that promise from who we are, and that all the monies and the participation that went into that would be paid out, and we would be fulfilling our promises in that regard.
Okay, that's good to hear. I mean, I just want members to know that no matter what happens, I mean, we are dedicated trying to make sure that people have qualified for something, that's an important thing, that they get the opportunity to play in what they qualified for if we can.
Yeah.
And if not, worst case scenario, you don't have to worry about the players fund. The money's there.
Yeah.
We would have to find a creative way to award it somewhat differently than just sending people to Vegas.
Yeah.
But it's not going anywhere.
We're working with the local leagues now, and we're talking with them about their player funds, and we're verifying and making sure that all those player funds are secure and that they know exactly what we're expecting, and we're trying to cast vision so that they understand what we're trying to pull off with maybe postponing some of these events, and hopefully we get to experience Vegas at Christmas time, right? So, but we're hoping that we'll be able to not need to go there, but if something happens, if this virus thing, which is so volatile, continues, we want to make sure that we can do something at least locally, and that means a lot to us.
Yep.
Excellent. So we've talked about the Pool Player Championships. We've talked about the Showdown Series Championship. We've talked about the World Pool Championship. Let's just touch on the U.S. Amateur Championship because I know we're in the entry phase for that event right now. I think the deadline is July 31st. You can still sign up. That is the one event that is probably smaller than the rest, and so the likelihood with that is that one may be easier to go make sure it goes off than the others. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, internally we've talked about it, that of all of our tournaments, it is the smallest. I mean, it's the elite of the elite APA players that we've got and non-APA players that choose to participate in the preliminary level. Right now, we are still open for taking entries to those preliminaries. What we're going to do is we're going to find out how much participation we actually have at the preliminary level, right? That's going to dictate how many players this year we would take to the championship level. So our hope is that, yes, we'll be able to host that event. And as far as the restrictions go, social distancing, PPE, things like that, we believe that that's a much more manageable environment to handle those types of things.
All right. So if you're interested in the U.S. Amateur Championship, you can still sign up for that now, between now and July 31st. On our website, poolplayers.com. Just go to the U.S. Amateur Championship section, and you can sign right up. So I know a lot of folks have been asking about that particular event because I think they kind of realize it's a smaller event, and the way the preliminaries work, maybe there's an opportunity that maybe some of the other ones aren't.
And people have been signing up. We've noticed that there's been quite a surge of people signing up, so people want to play in that event.
Yeah, they do. And again, like everything, COVID kind of dictates. It'll dictate the preliminaries we're allowed to run, what we're allowed to do. But again, we're kind of surfing this wave. We're going to try to do everything that we normally do until we're told that we can't, basically.
So with the addition of the Team Captain Championship and the Jack and Jill to the World Championships in November, December, what does that mean for Mini Mania? Does that impact Mini Mania? Will that still be available there?
Yes, Mini Mania will be available, and actually with the addition, to kind of go back, the reason why we couldn't have those events be part of the December event initially was that the Westgate actually had another group that was booked in one of our major rooms. For anybody that's actually been to the Whirlpool Championships, it's 3 main rooms. You've got the Mini Mania room, you've got the Showdown Series room in the middle, and you've got the main room. So initially, all we had available to us in that December timeframe was the main room and the Showdown Series, which allowed us to run the events that we put in those first, right? The Mini Mania was going to be somewhat limited compared to years before because we lost our entire Mini Mania room. Well, now we've gained that room back. So yes, we will have Mini Mania. What I will say is that Mini Mania may cut off a little bit earlier. There was a group in towards the end of our event that would be in that space, so we would end up running Mini Mania, I believe it was 8 out of the 10 days that we normally would, but there will be much more Mini Mania than we have even initially planned on having for the December event.
Excellent. And so Greg, we talked a little bit about the leagues coming back. I think last week I saw there were about 44% of our leagues had come back. Some things changed last week in Florida, Texas, a couple other states. I know we had like 70 set to start between today and July 7th. Where is like the league restart at, and kind of what's going on with that?
Well, obviously it's directly related to how well things are going in the general public, and yeah, you're right. There has been that kind of a bump. For a while we were kind of doubling, like every week we would kind of double the number of restarts, and it really started to get quite extensive, and we were approaching 50%. And then, obviously there's been a little bit of a hiccup in Florida, Texas, and a few other places. And so, with them having to shut down. But I think, unless I'm wrong, they're only like a temporary shutdown of a couple of weeks, right? Just try to get a handle on it. So we're still expecting quite a few other leagues to reopen. And one of the things that we've been pleasantly surprised about is the number of teams that are coming back. We didn't know what to expect, right? None of us know what to expect. Right. And so the number of teams in each league area that is coming back has been really large, and in the upper percentages for sure, 80-90%. And so that's been very encouraging, and it's something that not only from us from a business perspective, but also from we want our customers to experience what they've paid for and what they want. We see the messages, we see their what they're saying on our social media channels, that they want to play, and they want to play so bad, and so we want them to do that. We want them to do it safely, right? Yeah. And obviously, we do encourage everyone to pay attention to their local ordinances and what the authorities are saying, and try to follow that as well as you can, because the more times that we can do it safely, then we don't have these flare-ups, and we don't have to shut down, and we don't have to miss out on getting together with our friends and family and doing what we love. It's so important.
Yeah, well, that's good news. So, I think for a certain segment of our membership, welcome back, and we're happy that you are playing league again. And as Greg said, please make sure you're doing it as safely as possible, social distancing. If you choose to wear a mask, or if it's required, it sounds like it's a pretty good idea these days to wear a mask. And for those that haven't come back, hang in there. You're not alone. At least half of our leagues up until today, which is June 30th, have not started back up. So we still have some time. We haven't forgotten about you guys. You guys are a very important part of the mix. And so, I just know that after several months, even we feel the frustration with the cancel events. I know members start to get frustrated because they can't return to the pool table. So hang in there. Again, we're hopeful. We try to be hopeful every day. I know we've gotten even involved in some markets with, like Nebraska was one where they opened bars back up, but they weren't opening pool tables.
Yeah, it was quite frustrating.
And so we actually started doing some letter writing and maybe had some movement there.
Yeah,
right?
a lot. We got together. Some of our team members got together, especially those who specialize in this kind of thing, and we started really trying to use some of our effort to try to help our local leagues in their markets with government advocacy. Right, so. We reached out to them. We would find out what was going on in those particular areas. Maybe it was the governor's office. Maybe it was a local official, a city mayor. And we started to reach out to those people, and we petitioned them, and we said, hey, we want you to really think about this. And we shared with them the links that we're willing to go to so that our players can play and enjoy the game safely. And we've even had, I think the governor of Nebraska reached out to us and said, hey, we really appreciate you helping us understand that there's a lot more going on here than it's just some toy in a bar, right?
Correct.
And so they even said that they were going to change their policy based on what we were reaching out. So we really appreciate that, and we really are really happy that that's taking place. And obviously, we need to be able to execute that promise. We need to be able to do it safely, play safely, be conscientious, and be upright citizens in all this, so that we can continue and we don't have to go backwards, right? We are very much an active part of the community, and we want to be that shining bright light and help people to make the right choices, so that we don't have to go backwards in all this. I know I'm tired of it, and I know you guys are tired of it, and I imagine everybody else is tired of it. So help us do this and go out of your way to make sure that we do this right.
All right, great. So just to recap, the August Showdown Series Championship is technically canceled, but the 4 events that comprise that event are actually being postponed. So
Correct.
Good news for everybody that was qualified for that event. You're moving to a different time frame. For those of you in the Jack and Jill Doubles Championship and in the Team Captain Championships, you're moving to November, December. You're going to play during the World Pool Championships, which is where you were originally scheduled to play. Those of you that had qualified for the 8-ball doubles or the 9-ball doubles championships, those are now moving to next April, early May, in conjunction with the pool player championships. So they go back to kind of their own home, too, where they were with the 8-ball
Just
Classic
a year offset.
and 9-ball shootout. I do want to mention real quick, the wheelchair championship is kind of an anomaly because that event was originally scheduled for April. It is being moved to December at the World Championships this year, and then next year it will return to April, right?
So
Absolutely. So
quick turnaround.
yeah. So when we announced the wheelchair, we moved it to the December event. We felt that would be if things got back on track, that would probably be a safer environment for our wheelchair players. So we pushed that to December instead of scheduling it for August. And then we have our wheelchair championship at the Pool Players Championship each spring. So we're going to have the 2020 event at the World Pool Championships in December. And then we're going to have the 2021 wheelchair at the PPC, the Pool Player Championship then. Excellent.
So there you have it, folks. I mean, I think that kind of covers all the updates that we have for now. I think, there was a little bit of bad news in there, but I think obvious news. I think, everybody, we watch the news that everybody else watches. I mean, it was starting to really seem like a long shot for Vegas in August. We knew that. We planned accordingly. The real silver lining there is that the event, we thought those events would need to be canceled. If it couldn't happen, those have now been postponed. And so, again, everybody's going to have a shot to play in what they've qualified for at this point in time, right? And so that's great news. We hope you guys are excited. We hope you guys are hanging in there. Again, it's been a tough time for all of us, pool players and non-pool players alike, right? But we're all in it together, and eventually we're all going to get back to kind of more normalcy and back around the table together.
Yeah.
So until then, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Stay strong, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.